If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyle and Derek Caldwell of the Hoyle Financial Group. When you think about the market, going down just a little bit as it has, when you really sit back and think about it, this is going to happen, a million more times, right? The market is volatile. It goes up, it goes down. But you have to ask yourself, if this little bit of trickling down that it did, if it put a pit in your stomach now, how do you think that's going to feel in retirement? Derek, what do you have to say about that?
Jess, you hit the nail on the head that people forget, and they're always worried about a recession or a deep cutback in the market and everything. If you're 55, 65, I'm here to say it will happen at least twice in your retirement. Guys, it's not a if or, how bad or anything like that. It will happen. So you have to properly diversify. And I'll go ahead and just tell everybody listening too is if all these stresses we're talking about are on your mind right now and you're worrying and you're looking at the market on a day-to-day basis and everything, you do not have a good strategy. Plain and simple. You do not have the strategy that you need in retirement, and you need to fix it now. Don't you think, Steve? I mean, you can't sit around and wait for things to happen and then be reactive. We got to be proactive, people.
100%. Derek, what I think is most interesting about that is right now we're seeing people come see us, and, they're 3 years, 2 years, 5 years from retirement, and they have 98% of their money in the market. It's scary. And I talk about this all the time, but it makes so much sense. The rule of 100. Basically, subtract your age from 100, and that percentage left is how much money you should have in the market if you're a really, really high-risk investor. I'm 61 years old. Wow, 39%? Come on, let's talk about it. That's a lot of money. And Derek, right now, people could suffer this huge loss and work an extra 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve, what I've seen too is, we went through one of the biggest bull markets the last 15 years. Since the 2008 collapse and everything. And quite frankly, it's gotten where we are separating risk versus reward. Right. Clients come in the office and they're like, hey, I want to hit 20% returns. And then I start talking to them about the other side of that, right? The risk associated with it. If I create a portfolio that's designed to do that, this is how much risk you take on. And everybody goes, whoa, 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 whoa. I want to make 20 and I want to lose 5. Well, guys, you can't have everything in the market and do that. You have to diversify differently. And that's where, to your credits there, Steve, too, is you're 100% right. There's so many vehicles out there, fixed index annuities, even CDs play a part, your cash assets, all these different things to give you that kind of portfolio. But if you have 98% of funds in the market, I don't care how smart you are. Warren Buffett couldn't do 20% return with 5% downside, period.
Let's talk about some of the big names. You see what Warren Buffett did with Apple. A couple weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, Jess, we were talking about, I just left Austin, and on a Monday morning, the people were calling us, calling our show, calling our office, because all of a sudden people had to work at Tesla, and all of a sudden they were told not to come in, and all of a sudden they didn't have access and their job was over. What's going to happen is it's the trickle effect. It's a great time to blame it on inflation. It's a great time to blame it on interest rates, the election, all of those things. And, so many people, we ask them, when do you want to retire? Well, wait a minute. Do you have a plan in place if all of a sudden you got a pink slip tomorrow and you no longer go to work? Are you planning to retire at that point? What's the plan? So what I think we do, we've been doing for the past 35 years, is giving people options. If this happens, I've got a plan for that. If this happens, I've got a plan for that. I think having that diversification and having a strategy, that's when it works, Mr. Caldwell.
Oh, absolutely, Steve. And, I'm going to give away first 5 callers, guys, a complimentary retirement analysis where we will give you and properly diversify you in a way that's going to give you that peace of mind you need, where if you turn on the news, guys, and Mondays happen again, the market's down 8-9%, that you're not sitting there panicking. Panicky selling, guys. We saw that on Monday. And make no mistake, the big dogs that are experienced and the advisors, they're taking advantage of that, and you're sitting there losing money. So call us today. Let's do a complimentary retirement analysis, first 5 callers, and let us sit through that and build that plan where you can have a plan moving forward where you don't make those kind of decisions based upon the fear and the anxiety that you're feeling right now.
Now, here's something else I want to throw at you guys, because you guys are talking about, being proactive. Let's put a plan in place. Let's make sure you're protected. All these different moving parts. By the way, that's going to be different and custom for everybody involved here. But also, you have a lot of other folks out there that just say, don't panic, stay the course. It'll come back. Just kind of sit back and relax. What are your thoughts on that?
Hell no. It's funny. I don't like to use that word, but years ago, Jess, there was in Amarillo, there was this guy that did paintless car repair, and his name was Hell Yes. So all of a sudden, if you got your car, hell yes, come see us. We'll fix that. Hell yes.
That's
but
funny.
I'm telling you, no, you need to have a plan. If you're going to put your head in the sand and think that this is over, you're wrong. When are we going to have that correction that really messes it up? And, earlier in the show, we were talking about Tesla. We were talking about Warren Buffett. But, Derek, think about this. So many indicators out there are pointing to that. I mean, so many people are saying, look what can happen. I just think that people need to ask themselves, if you had a 12 to 20 to 30% correction, how would that affect you?
Quite frankly, to everybody, listen, if your advisor, I'm going to tell you right now, is not doing their job, if you have these fears and uncertainties and you do not have a plan in place to properly address those. If somebody says, hey, just stay the course and everything like that, and you feel in the gut that you are scared and worried, bam, wrong advisor. You do not have the kind of relationship and understanding, because that relationship is super important here at Hoyle Financial. I mean, we never want our clients to feel that way. Absolutely not. And if they do feel that way, I haven't done my job, I'll fire myself. Plain and simple. That is not why you have an advisor relationship with somebody that is supposed to take care of your money. When you lose 20% and then they tell you, hey, buddy, just stick on with it. It'll get better eventually. That is a terrible answer.
But, Derek, I think that we have lots of different strokes for different folks. I really believe that. We have people that come to see us right now and say, I have plenty of income, but I just can't take the loss. We have strategies that you can all of a sudden put your money in, your retirement monies, your after-tax money, that have a cap. So they participate in the upside of the S&P. Some of them 13, some of them 14, some of them 15%. So you participate in the upside of the market, but you don't suffer any downside losses. What was it, Derek? 22, the S&P was down 19.85. Let's call it 20%. People lost 20% in the S&P. Mm-hmm. Now, they made it up the next year, but when you can participate in the upside of it and not have any downside loss, if the S&P ends up being down 36%, zero is your hero. So you get to keep the gains, but not suffer the losses. That's a strategy to protect your money, keep growing your money, and be able to keep up with inflation and all the things that are going on in our economy. So, everybody needs some money in the market, but not all of it.
And yeah, Steve, you hit the nail on the head. Listening to people when they come in is my number one job when I sit down with people, is to get to know them and understand their risk. And I don't try to put somebody in something that they are not going to be comfortable with. And that's what we find most of the time when people come with me to Hoyle Financial from other advisors, is I told them I don't want any risk. And now I'm in a 60-40 portfolio, and they're at risk, right? They're in stocks and bonds. There's risk there, but that's really because they worked with somebody who wasn't a retirement planner, that it was a broker or whatever happened in that conversation. There was something lost in translation, because there are, Steve. I mean, there's people that don't want that kind of risk. They don't want it in the market. I know you said right. It's advisable to have funds in the market, but just the other day I had a client come in. She's 70 years old. She is a widower, and she has all the income she needs, and she has really the assets that she'll need to take care of long-term care and go into that final stage of life and everything. She's set up really nicely. And so she came to us from another financial advisor's office and said, I'm watching this stuff, and I don't feel comfortable with it. And I'm like, okay, well, you have some money in the market. She had a great amount of bank assets and everything. And she's like, Derek, isn't there a way I can have a little bit of both? Can I have a little bit of growth, but also have safety? And so what she was missing out is that fixed index annuity piece and everything, where she had more safety built in, but she had higher upside potential that she was looking for. But every answer that every advisor that she talked with, because she listened to a couple radio shows and everything, was you throw it in the market. Well, she's 70, guys, and talking with her, she is extremely risk adverse. In fact, she told me at one point, I want nothing to do with the market.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and she was in the market with her last advisor, and it's like, we got to listen more as financial advisors, I'll tell you, just as in our industry. But that's the kind of person that we don't try to put a round peg in a square hole. If that's their risk tolerance and that's how they feel comfortable, that's what we're going to do. We're going to position her funds where, she needs them to get the things that she wants in life, because she's more worried about conservation. She's worked hard her whole life. She sees the writing on the wall. That's the right fit for her. So if you want to look and see, guys, if you're a good fit for an annuity or a conservation strategy portfolio that we custom make for you, give us a call today. We focus on creating custom strategies for conservation and for people who want to be more conservative than their advisor has them. And we also have strategies for everybody in between. So call today if you want that custom strategy portfolio put together for you. And let's find something that you really, really want to be into versus what somebody's sticking you in.
I think, Justin, Derek, one of the things that we see that's the real game changer for our clients is when they become 59 and a half. All of a sudden, they have all this money in the 401k. They don't know how they're ever going to retire. They haven't thought about all the different parts of their retirement plan. Derek, talk to us some about how we can help people at that point in life.
One of the biggest eye-openers for people is when they turn 59 and a half. And I'll say 99% of employer 401ks allow you to do this, somewhere around there. But because there are occasionally where they won't let you do what's called an in-service rollover. But in general, at 59 and a half, you could take control of your funds and you can roll them wherever you want, everybody. So up until that point, they have a lot of rules and restrictions on not allowing you to take control of your money. But I'll tell you, guys, if I see one more life path plan, it'll be the greatest day of my life.
What is a life path plan? What is that?
So 401ks have an automated life path plan. Most of them now have heavily leaned on this investment strategy, and that is where you put in your funds into a life path plan. And as you get older, it automatically allocates between equities, like stocks, and then bonds. And as you get to a certain age, generally it's around 50-50. You'll have 50% in equities, 50% in bonds is about what they do. But they don't take into account your personal lifestyle, your income needs, anything like that. You may be wanting higher growth than that. But a lot of 401ks, probably 80% of them I see now, everybody's in these life path plans, and it is the most passive form of investment you can ever imagine, everybody, when you're listening to this. You probably have one, and it is not doing anything for you at all. I mean, the strategy is outdated, and it is the perfect thing for a 401k where they don't have to mess with you. They don't have to get to know you. They don't have to do anything because it's all automated, people. But you're losing a lot of upside potential. You're also maybe too far invested than what you want to. So if you're over 59 and a half, take a look at your 401k statements and call me. I will analyze your 401k statements for you and show you how you should be properly diversified and allow you to take control of your money, do an in-service rollover, and get that money in your hands where your strategy matches your life.
And Derek, I think the great thing about that is it's the time to start thinking about income for the future, making sure you have income that you can't outlive. It's so much as you get to retirement, it's about how much income you have every month, not how much money you have, beating your chest, I have this much money. Then, as we start looking at that 401k, we're going to look at tax strategies. We're going to look at your estate planning. We're going to look at all the different things that really matter to you in retirement. I think that's where the power is. Call us today for a 401k X-ray. Let's really sit down and look at where you are and where you're going and how we can make your money work harder and smarter for you.
We were talking about the election, just basically throughout today's show and other shows. And, the presidential contest between Kamala and, of course, Donald Trump here is expected to be close. Depending on how congressional races pan out, the stage could set for a flurry of changes that might impact those in or even nearing retirement. So as financial advisors here, you're bound to hear anxiety from clients, I'm sure, day in and day out. How are you keeping them focused logically for long term and not just setting in the panic now?
That's probably the first question I've been hearing the last couple of weeks. And quite frankly, it's kind of like I'm repeating myself. Like, I feel like, you ever seen that movie Groundhog Day with, it's repeating itself over and over again. And, the first thing I always tell everybody is to keep calm. When Trump first came in office, when Biden first came in office, there was not this, if you look back, that there wasn't a day one, bam, the market drops, or bam, the market takes off, guys. Most of these policies and things that will occur that could affect the economy, first of all, are not even directly tied to the president. So then it has to be gone through legislation and everything. So you'll see, it'll be a year at least generally that we see big changes that could occur. Now, we will start to get a glimpse when they start unrolling, okay, I'm the president now, and these are the things I'm going to go after. But and that's really where we start to pay attention more, because we can hedge against these things. We can do something about them before they get into law and get enacted and things like that. If you remember a big one with Biden when he first got elected, they were talking about the estate tax, going after that, and how you inherit property and everything. None of that actually got passed, which is good because it affected a lot of people, in my opinion, negatively. But once we start to hear that, that's definitely something that we kind of hedge against and think about. But it's about being calm. And once again, the biggest thing is having a plan and being, I wouldn't say immune to all this, but that you feel comfort in knowing that, hey, you've done everything you can outside of something you can't control. And I tell everybody, control what you can control. What everybody listening today can control is getting prepared and making sure you have a plan in place if and when whoever gets elected.
But Derek, I think the big thing is the lack of consumer confidence, or having higher consumer confidence makes the market go up. But the lack of consumer confidence and fear is what really drives the market. I don't think sometimes it's its policies as much as the lack of what might happen and people reacting when they shouldn't. I think that's the problem with the markets. Would you agree?
Yeah, you look at people smarter than me. I can't remember the guy's name who founded Vanguard. But that when asked, he said, what's the number one thing that can ruin retirement in your portfolio? And he said, fear is number one. He said, most of the time it's not what the investment does. It's the fear, and it's the impulse, the reaction to, Steve, how many stories have you heard in 2008, 2010, the fear that drives people, they cash everything out when it's down 50% kind of thing. If I could do anything, it would be to take away that fear. But I know that's human nature, right? It's to get worried and everything. But you have to do something. You can't just sit there and go, hey, I hope nothing happens.
Yeah,
because
you got to be proactive.
Yeah, Derek, I've told that story for years, but had that gentleman, we told him he needed a dollar cost average out of the market. So when he got right up on retirement, he didn't lose it all. Well, the week before he was going to retire, the market fell in 2008, and he cashed it all out that day. And he worked for 5 more years. I'm telling you, you just can't make this stuff up. You dollar cost average in the market all those years. That's why we like to work with our clients and have time on our side, so you can dollar cost average out of the market, so you don't all of a sudden go boom one day, and your whole retirement that you dreamed of and worked for and envisioned is gone. Don't let that happen to you. You need to call the folks at Hoyle Financial today. Let's really sit down. Let's put that plan together. Let's figure out what your hopes, your dreams are. Let's figure out what you really want to do in retirement. That's what it's about right there.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derek or a member of the Hoyle Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
Investment advice offered through Hoyle Wealth Management, a Texas-registered investment advisor able to provide investment advice in states where it's registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyle, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyle is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyle is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.